Welcome, crypto fam, to the #1 daily Bitcoin pod. In today's show, we'll be breaking down the latest Bitcoin technical analysis as Bitcoin price stampedes to 99,500 hours after the record Bitcoin ETF outflow. We'll also be discussing Tether USDT pours $775 million into video sharing platform Rumble. We'll also be discussing Michael Saylor unveils the new Bitcoin framework to boost the U.S. leadership in crypto, as well as the Federal Reserve to own Bitcoin. Well, Senator Lummis proposes legislative update. I'll be breaking down for you. We'll also be discussing Max Keiser rejects Michael Saylor's stablecoin idea and champions the Bitcoin standard. Quoting Max here, Saylor's idea that the U.S. creates a 10 trillion stablecoin backed by Bitcoin is unlikely to happen because the U.S. is extremely restrictive about who gets to use the USD. We'll also be discussing breaking news, a big obviously rumor at this point that the UAE now holds $40 billion worth of Bitcoin as nation state FOMO has officially begun. There's also a rumor circulating they just literally purchased 300,000 Bitcoin. So you're not bullish enough. We'll also be taking a look at the overall crypto market. All this plus so much more, in today's show. But anyways, without further ado, if you're new to the channel, very important to smash the likes and then go ahead and subscribe. Half of you watching aren't subscribed. What are you doing? Then hit the bell icon, turn on all notifications. That way you get notified each and every day when I go live. Today is pod 1855. I'm your host, JV. It's December 21st, 2024. Bitcoin's back in the green. Happy 420 broskies. Bitcoin up $420 on the day. The current all-time high we achieved a few days back is 108,200. That's currently price discovery, which is practically just a God candle away. But anyways, let's kick it off with our market watch as we do each and every day. You can see Bitcoin in the green, the broader market all in the red and correcting as the pretty little bitty going up. And checking out CoinMarketCap.com. The current crypto market cap is sitting at a $3.33 trillion. The Bitcoin market cap just shy of $2 trillion at $1.933 trillion. We got $180 billion worth of the volume for the past 24 hours. Bitcoin dominance back on the rise at 57.8%. Ether dominance back on the decline at 12.1%. Checking out top 100 crypto gainers past 24 hours. We got Move, Hype, and Pengu. Let me know which alts, if any, you're bullish on for the bull. And checking out the crypto bubbles. And yes, Merry Christmas, 'tis the season. Let's first zoom in on the daily. Safe to say maybe 90 to 95% of the market correcting and in the red. Very few cryptos in the green today, minus the king. And zooming out on the monthly, the majority of the market, I'd say in the green, maybe 60-40 overall. And checking out the crypto greed and fear index today, we're in greed at a 73, yesterday 74, last week an 83, and last month an 82 in extreme greed. And checking out the time chain calendar, we literally have 174,252 blocks until the halving of 2028, and we're currently on block height 875,748. You can currently exchange one fiat monopoly dollar for 1,027 Satoshis. So stack them stats, fam. You already know. So here the headline reads, Bitcoin price stampedes to 99,500 hours after the record Bitcoin ETF outflow, which was yesterday, I believe. So here we go. Bitcoin neared 100,000 today after a monster Bitcoin price bounce delivered snap upside, as we can see here in the Bitcoin 1 hour chart. Data from TradingView followed Bitcoin as it gained 7,000 in less than 24 hours. Not too shabby. And after liquidating the leveraged long positions with a trip back to December lows near 92, finally offers some relief as the weekend began, reaching highs at 99.5. On Bitstamp, the absence of the institutional trading appeared to make little difference as the bulls pushed for a reclaim to six figures. The rebound came as buyers returned to the largest U.S. exchange, which is Coinbase, which had previously spawned the sell side pressure, quoting analysts here, Coinbase buying a lot since the lows, said Exit Pump. Now you can see Super Bro Bitcoin Daily with a monster hammer off the 50 moving average is outlined here in the chart. And on the hourly time frames, we eyed the potential breakout signal in the form of an inverse head and shoulders construction. As you can see here, a classic pattern that can mark a short-term, long-term low. Continuing trading account Dr. Magic described the scam breakdown signal from the Bitcoin RSI, which we know is the relative strength index. He exclaimed that This could have been driven artificially low, an event that preceded the previous periods of protracted Bitcoin price upside. I wonder also if it had anything to do with the government announcing a potential shutdown, as it creates a lot of uncertainty in the markets. I mean, the stock market in one day I saw lost $1.5 trillion, which is crazy. And of course, that impacts the crypto markets as well. Quoting the analyst here, there is a reason I am obsessed about this RSI scam breakdown that I've been posting for a while. It happened in every major leg up until the first local top. So is there manipulation going on? Probably. Now, daily RSI stood at 52 at that time, preserving the crucial midpoint of a 50. And as reported during the Bitcoin bull market, the RSI commonly holds above the overbought 70 level for extended periods. So Bitcoin returning near 100 Gs, which were only 2,000 shy of at the time of the live stream, appeared bittersweet for investors of the US Bitcoin ETFs. December 20th, the ETFs logged net outflows of nearly 300 million, which we covered in yesterday's pod. Data from sources including the UK-based investment firm Farside shared. The largest of these, which is IBIT, saw its largest net outflows to date on record of 72 million. Typically, there's like billions of inflows every day, but I have a strong feeling that there's going to be a tremendous amount of inflows on Monday. December 19th, meanwhile, saw the aggregate total outflow for the ETF products hit its own maximum of 671 million. And with that being shared, now let's pull up some of the live charts via TradingView. Via Coinbase, you should be able to see here on your screen as we're approaching 98,000, about to retest. You can see this is the 1 hour chart. We do have a target on screen sitting at $101,900. And zooming out from the hourly, we'll scope out the 4 hour. The 4 hour chart shows a rising wedge formation. We do have a bear target sitting at 80,800. I know some analysts were calling for that. I don't know how likely that is. I'm still leaning bullish, as I always am, just to keep it 100. But nonetheless, let me know your thoughts. And zooming out, we check out the daily chart. The daily chart also shows a rising wedge. You see the big red candles over the course of the past couple of days. Before that, we had consecutive green candles. And we do have a bear target as well, sitting at 76,700 on the daily chart. And zooming out from there, we'll scope out the 1 week. And we still have the cup and handle target, which has been in play for a long time, which is 124,000, which we could still potentially hit before the end of the year. But I want to know your thoughts regarding the 124K target. And you're going to notice 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 consecutive green weekly candle closes since the November Trump pump, since the election. We are forming a red candle, as you can see, but we have till tomorrow, maybe around 6 p.m. until we get the weekly close. So let's see if we can continue the momentum and go from there. And zooming out from the weekly, we take a quick look at the monthly chart. And as you can see, Moonvember was the biggest green candle close we've ever had on the monthly. It was roughly a $30,000 gain, practically $1,000 per day every day. And now we just lost a lot of those gains here just recently after tapping out at 108.2-ish in that ballpark. But we are gaining some momentum. As you can see, we're about to test 98,000 here any moment. So there you have it. Crypto fam, let me know where you feel the Bitcoin price action will likely end for the month and for the year of 2024. Holla. Headline reads, Tether pours 775 million into Rumble. And shout out to the Rumble and to the Rumble fam. As you know, we stream live every day on X Rumble and YouTube. So yeah, Tether, the issuer of the world's largest stablecoin by market cap, just invested $750 million into the Rumble. And as you know, Tether deeply believes in the fundamental values of freedom of speech and financial freedom. Shout out to the Tether CEO, Paolo. Now, they say our strategic investment in Rumble greatly underscores Tether's focus in supporting tech and companies that empower humans, delivering independence and resilience to our society. Amen. He also said he was optimistic about the Rumble CEO, Chris, and his team have built and looks forward to collaborating on a shared vision. Tether and Rumble plan to collaborate on advertising, cloud, and crypto payments. And also, Chris recently made the announcement, the CEO of Rumble, that they now have Bitcoin on the balance sheet. So that's another win. Echoing a similar sentiment, Pavlovsky, who is Chris, said that he has never been more excited for the future and intends to keep pushing against the world's largest video sharing platform, YouTube. YouTube, look out. I'm coming for the monopolistic market share globally. Amen. And following the announcement, Rumble's share price surged 51%. Just like that. It pays to adopt the biddy because you have 100 million plus Bitcoiners like us who are going to promote you for adopting it. No brainer. Every company should be doing the same. Learn from them. So yeah, their stock reached $10.90 according to Google Finance. And on November 25th, Rumble confirmed plans to add Bitcoin to the balance sheet. All smart companies should follow in that footsteps using the Sailor put. The video sharing platform said its board of directors approved the strategy, allocating a portion of the company's excess cash reserves to the Biddy at the company discretion and up to $20 million total. Pavlovsky teased the idea of adding Bitcoin to the balance sheet November 9th in a poll. And out of 43,000 votes, we had roughly 94% say yes. And I mean, why wouldn't they, unless they're just a hater? You feel me? Let's continue with the news. We got a lot to share. Here's the latest from the Giga Chad, Mikey Saylor. He unveils new Bitcoin framework to boost the U.S. leadership in crypto. That's right. So Saylor emphasizes that a well-structured digital asset policy could significantly strengthen the U.S. dollar. That's right. Mitigate national debt and empower millions of businesses. He believes that by establishing a clear and universally understood taxonomy of digital assets, the U.S. can foster innovation and create trillions of value. The Saylor framework categorizes digital assets into several key classes, including digital commodities, such as the Biddy, which are backed by their own digital power, and digital securities that represent ownership and equities and derivatives. The categories include digital currencies linked to fiat, also fungible digital tokens offering specific utility, unique NFTs, and digital assets tied to physical commodities like gold or oil. We all know gold is the poor man's Bitcoin. That one's for you, Peter Shifty. And to ensure the legitimacy of these assets, Saylor insists of a robust framework, defining the rights and responsibilities of all the market participants as essential. This system aims to establish a trustworthy environment where issuers have the right to create assets while ensuring a fair disclosure. Exchanges are responsible for the safeguarding of client assets, maintaining transparency, and the owners are empowered to manage their assets in compliance with the local laws. And central to the framework is the foundational principle that all participants must act ethically with civil and criminal accountability for their actions. Saylor also advocates for a regulatory approach that prioritizes efficiency and innovation over bureaucratic hurdles. He proposes standardized disclosures and industry-led compliance measures that enable exchanges to assist in data collection and publication, and by limiting compliance costs and streamlining the issuance process, he envisions rapid asset creation, potentially reducing timelines from months to mere days. This empowerment of the exchanges to facilitate integrated services for all the market participants aims to enhance the overall efficiency of digital asset transactions, fostering a competitive and innovative marketplace. So recently, Jay Powell was asked, will you guys buy Bitcoin? He's like, no, the Fed does not buy Bitcoin. And there's an interesting headline that caught my attention. It says, the Federal Reserve to own Bitcoin. Senator Lummis proposes the legislative update. So let's break down the latest from Cynthia Lummis of Wyoming, who outlined the proposal to grant the Fed the authority. That's right. Jay Powell said they can't because they don't have the authority to hold Bitcoin as part of the U.S. official reserves. She argued the approach could improve the country's long-term financial stability, strengthening the global role of the U.S. dollar, and provide a valuable hedge against the nation's ballooning national debt, which now surpasses $36 trillion. That's right. My proposal would have the U.S. purchase, she said, through other assets it already owns 200,000 Bitcoin a year for 5 years for a total of 1 million Bitcoin. That's Lummis's plan, which she reiterated. We would hold it for at least 20 years. And at the numbers that we project, that would accrue a fund that's worth $16 trillion. We want our federal government to have a strategic Bitcoin reserve that can help back the U.S. dollar, the world reserve currency, and then serve as a long-term saving account, thereby offsetting our national debt. Now, the senator's remarks directly confront the current stance of the Fed chairman, Jay Powell. At the latest FOMC meeting, he reiterated that the Fed restricts the institutions from owning it. Quoting him here, we're not allowed to own Bitcoin. The Fed Act says we can't own it, and we are not looking for a law change. He's the Fed's bitch, ultimately. That's the kind of thing for Congress to consider, but we are not looking for the law to change it. Of course they're not. Bitcoin severs the banks of the heads of the central banking cartels, literally, and he works for them. Lummis acknowledged this legal roadblock, but remained determined to shift the conversation to Congress, precisely what she needs to do. She believes lawmakers need to give the central bank the authority to hold Bitcoin, quoting her here. I understand the Fed believes it doesn't have the legal authority to own Bitcoin. We need to give that to them. Preach. The Bitcoin U.S. already owns roughly 200,000 Bitcoin, but I heard 100,000 of that belongs to the Bitfinex folks that got robbed. Nonetheless, her proposal aligns with principles set forth of the Bitcoin Act of 2024, introduced earlier in the year. It seeks to establish the strategic Bitcoin reserve of the U.S. to enhance the national financial strategy. The act involves setting up secure Bitcoin storage facilities, purchasing 1 million Bitcoin over 5 years, and funding these purchases through existing financial reserves without increasing the taxpayer burden. In fact, they should just reduce or limit all capital gains tax on crypto, which I heard is a rumor coming from the Trump administration right now. Quoting her here, "It is absolutely the right asset," she said, describing Bitcoin properties. "It is digital gold. It's a finite source. Only 21 million Bitcoin will ever be mine. Even though it is slightly volatile, it's already volatile in an upward leaning direction." And so the goal here of holding it for 20 years is in recognition that on the short term, there is short-term volatility. In the long term, there's long-term growth that far exceeds the ability of the U.S. dollar to keep up. Lummis cited historical growth trends to bolster her argument, and although Bitcoin has existed for only 15 years or 16 years, she views its long-term trajectory as overwhelmingly positive. While she acknowledged that the growth may slow from the early years, declining from 55% annual growth to maybe 45 to 35%, it would still, in her estimation, continue to grow, where the U.S. dollar will continue to decline in value as the money printer continue to go brr. And quoting the Bitcoin Archive from this Senator Lummis interview she recently had, Senator Lummis says she wants to give the Fed the authority to own the Bitcoin. "I want our federal government to have a strategic Bitcoin reserve, buying 200,000 Bitcoin a year for 5 years. Can I get an amen? And holding it for a minimal of 20 years. So respect to Senator Lummis and those proposing for the strategic Bitcoin reserve. Let me know if you think Trump will sign that bill. Holla. And if he does, we're looking at some very bullish targets for this cycle. JV's been calling 1.1 million. Max Kaiser doubled over the top, 1.1 million times 2, which is 2.2 million. Let me know your thoughts on some of the bull targets. If we don't get the strategic Bitcoin reserve at a state or nation level, it's already a lock because the states are already applying for it. But if we don't, I'm still super based. 420 for the Siskis and the Broskis, especially for those who were born at Woodstock, such as our very own Oracle JC Ice. This one's for you. We're all Satoshi. Let's continue with the news. Next story of the day. We discussed Sailor. We discussed the Fed BTC. Here's the latest from the high priest of Bitcoin, Max Kaiser. He rejects Michael Saylor's stablecoin idea and champions the Bitcoin standard. That's right. Max has recently commented on the proposal by Saylor for the U.S. to create a 10 trillion stablecoin pegged to Bitcoin, calling this idea not plausible given the restrictive policy of the U.S. dollar. Kaiser framed the U.S. dollar as the ultimate proof of stake shitcoin. Amen. Emphasizing it derives its value from control and exclusion rather than openness and neutrality. Max, as we know, has offered a sharp critique of the global financial system, this time targeting the idea of a Bitcoin-backed U.S. stablecoin. That's right. Kaiser dismissed the idea as unrealistic, citing the restrictive nature of the U.S. dollar policies. And if anyone knows the U.S. government, it's Max. He described the USD as the ultimate proof of stake shitcoin, arguing that its value stems from centralized control and exclusion, which is 100% accurate, rather than the transparency and neutrality championed by decentralized systems like Bitcoin. And reading Max's recent tweet out loud, and even tagged Saylor, respect. Saylor's idea that the U.S. creates a $10 trillion stablecoin backed by Bitcoin is unlikely to happen because the U.S. is extremely restrictive about who gets to use the U.S. dollar. Good point. The U.S. dollar is the ultimate proof of stake shitcoin, and the U.S. government is never going to open source the U.S. dollar and let her perceived enemies, such as Russia, Iran, and whistleblowers, etc., use it. The U.S. dollar is backed by violence. Bitcoin is backed by peace. President Bukele gets it. El Salvador is moving to a peaceful Bitcoin standard. The interim goal in El Salvador is to acquire another 20,000 BTC. And good point there. And let's continue with the story here. Kaiser contrasted the U.S. dollar's foundation of force with Bitcoin's ethos of peace, referring to El Salvador's adoption of a Bitcoin standard under Bukele as the prime example of a peaceful financial revolution. That's right. Reaffirming its Bitcoin commitment with the powers to buy up to another 20,000 of the biddy, Kaiser says El Salvador is leading the way. They had the first movers advantage. They're Bitcoin country and always will be because they were the first to put Bitcoin on the balance sheet. Max further asserted that the U.S. can't create a strategic Bitcoin reserve without collapsing the US dollar and ultimately losing their world power. But El Salvador, on the other hand, is in a rare position to do so under Bukele. It has increased daily purchases, setting an ambitious short-term target, adding another 20,000 Bitcoin to the reserve. This bold strategy underlines El Salvador's commitment to the Bitcoin standard and rewriting its economic trajectory. Max focused mainly on the recent interview with CNBC, where Saylor laid out the plan for how the U.S. could leverage the incoming administration, Trump, to implement the digital asset framework that would cement the dollar as the premier digital currency. Saylor blasted the onerous U.S. stance regarding crypto and murky regulations, Gensler, forcing companies like Tether to issue dollar-backed stablecoins offshore. He envisioned U.S. banks one day issuing their own stablecoins and creating a multi-trillion-dollar global opportunity for the dollar. And even though he supports Trump's plan on the strategic Bitcoin reserve, Saylor explained that the U.S. issued digital dollars can tap into a $10 trillion global market, boosting demand for U.S. treasuries used to back those tokens. It would allow the U.S. to extend the dollar's dominance in the new digital economy. He further went on to explain how Russia, China, Africa, and South America already utilize stables such as Tether to access the dollars. So there you have it. Yo, let me know if you guys agree or disagree with the Giga Chat. And of course, with what Max Keiser and his feedback to all of that before we jump into our feature story of the day and discuss the UAE, allegedly, rumor has it, holding $40 billion worth of Bitcoin, a reason making a 300,000 Bitcoin purchase. But I also forgot to share this tweet with you. I wanted to share one more from the high priest, and then we'll get to our next story and check comments. But yeah, El Salvador senior Bitcoin advisor Max says President Bukele has ramped up the daily Bitcoin buys with interim goal of acquiring 20,000 more of the biddies. So there you have it, yo. Now for our feature story of the day. Let's break this baby down. Rumors are circulating that the UAE now holds $40 billion worth of Bitcoin as nation state FOMO has begun, and probably has begun a while back. Also, let's not forget that just recently there was the big Bitcoin conference, I think maybe last week or the week prior, over in Abu Dhabi. Trump Jr., I guess it was Eric Trump, actually gave one of the best speeches at the event and confirmed that they're going to be adopting a strategic Bitcoin reserve and how bullish him and his family truly is about Bitcoin. And you already know I've been leaking insider information from Max Keiser all year, and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. But this is a brand new tweet from Vivek, who I respect, who wrote rumors, and bless you, Nipinator, rumors that the UAE, the United Arab Emirates, now holds $40 billion worth of the Bitcoin as the nation state FOMO has begun. Let me know if you agree or disagree with that particular sentiment. Someone wrote here, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, I expect most of the Middle Eastern sovereign wealth funds to be heavily invested, and I agree with that sentiment. Also, we have Lark Davis. Shout out Lark. He says rumors are circulating the UAE just purchased 300,000 of the Bitcoin. If that turns out to be true, nobody is bullish enough. Let's consider how much money is out there in the Middle East. We're talking all that oil money. And he wrote here, Bitfinex 2025 market outlook. And shout out Lark Davis. I remember when I first got to crypto, he used to refer to himself as the Crypto Lark. And I used to follow him, and he always has some good content, so respect. But anyways, I also wanted to share this because this is quoting Max Keiser. We've been leaking this all year. He says, the speculative attack is just getting started. Saylor, Bukele, and the Saudis are all in. 220,000 Bitcoin in play, and so is 1 million. And if you've been paying attention to the podcast, Max Keiser recently increased his Bitcoin prediction this cycle by a factor of 10x to 2.2 million. But who started breaking this story first? Your boy, Max Keiser, and I've been reporting it. So this was back on March 10th. And I didn't just announce it like one time. We started, they had the Saudis meeting with Bukele. There's been a lot of inside information. So I'm just going to read you some of these trending stories that I shared previously. Max Keiser predicts 300 trillion purchasing power moving into Bitcoin, sending the price 150x to 10.5 million per coin. Quoting Saylor, Bitcoin is going to continue to progress to 1 million a coin, 2 million a coin, 5 million a coin, 10 million a coin. Bitcoin price to reach 10 million per this date from Fundstrat. Shout out Thomas Lee. Quoting Max again, and this was from December of last year. The Saudis will make Michael Saylor look like a peanut. A 500 Oh my God, how many zeros is that? I think that's $500 billion buy order triggering the God candles, already a done deal. And for Max to say that, you already know he has some insights. He doesn't just make stuff up out of thin air. That's why he is the high priest. He also said the implied hash adjusted price for Bitcoin is over 400,000. That was back in December of 2023, and the hash rate only just continues to hit new all-time highs. Another quote from the high priest right here. These two are teaming up to make Larry Fink, BlackRock, and Saylor look like peanuts, referring to the Middle East here, with a buy order of 1 million Bitcoin, making a $100,000 God candle. Also, there was news Russia to build a Bitcoin mining hub in Ethiopia, Africa, which I covered last year in December. Also, quoting Max, Russia's getting deeper into Bitcoin, as we have been reporting would happen for 5 years. And that was around the time the news Russia, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Iran will start doing deals in Bitcoin. Qatar knows this and is pulling the trigger on a huge Bitcoin buy for their sovereign wealth fund. Remember the Qatar rumors? Again, this all goes back to the Middle East. So I'm just showing you some of the trending stories I did share. Back in January, Qatar and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia may be making a Bitcoin announcement next week regarding a major 1 million Bitcoin buy order. So the $1 million question becomes, when Max was reporting this and I was reporting it on the pod, were they buying behind the scenes? You let me know. And then on January 1st, BRICS officially doubled overnight, where the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Ethiopia, Egypt, and Iran are officially members of the BRICS. The Saudi 1 million Bitcoin buy and God candles a done deal, quoting Max Kaiser, of course, there. And I mean, I can go on and on. Bitcoin will catch gold, 750,000 is a done deal, 220,000 in play. My upper target for the cycle was raised to 750,000. That was back on March 11th. There's some proof of work. And again, he just recently upped that target to 2.2 million, especially with a strategic Bitcoin reserve. He says the speculative attack that Saylor and Bukele are making against the US dollar and all fiat money using Bitcoin that moves 300 trillion of purchasing power into the Bitcoin is 150x move, 70,000 an example, 10.5 million per Bitcoin. And again, I'll maybe read a couple of more for you. And we'll go from there and we'll discuss this, shall we? But yeah, I mean, the BRICS news, BRICS continues with their de-dollarization movement. And you already know Bitcoin will catch gold. We know the gold market cap is currently 17 trillion. Bitcoin market cap is just shy of $2 trillion. And when we flip gold, game on. You know what I mean? Also update what I heard 9 months ago and reported on is happening. The largest oil company in the world, Aramco, Saudi Aramco, is doing a Michael Saylor and putting billions into Bitcoin. The FOMO is real. And I'll just stop there because there's endless stories, right in alignment with these rumors. But I want to know what your thoughts are. Do you think they'll come out, make the big announcement, or do you just think they'll continue stacking on the low? Do you think it's a bunch of bullshit, or do you think there's credibility there? Anything Max says repetitively, I give massive weight to, because he's the high priest. He's been preaching about Bitcoin since it was a quarter. So you got to respect that. And with that being shared, welcome everyone to the Q&A segment of the live stream. I'm going to do my best to read as many comments out loud as I can. There are about 400,000 Bitcoin over the counter and another 2.4 million held by all the Bitcoin exchanges at the current accumulation rate. The entire available supply of the Bitcoin is consumed in 35 weeks. Supply shock, that is right, and that's pretty accurate. The lowest amount of Bitcoin available on the exchanges right now. And what happens when there is very limited Bitcoin for sale and there's mass demand, such as the institutional FOMO, nation state FOMO, state adoption FOMO, sovereign wealth fund, pension fund FOMO, pretty little bitty going up.